much water in the boat. Hi all, my name's Charles Jenkins. I'm going to be talking about a record that I've just put out with the Zhivagos called Too Much Water in the Boat. This record started life via a grant from the Australian Arts Council. I submitted a new work application grant and decided that I was going to write a record about water in all its variations, be they drought, be they flood, be they women's waters breaking, be they tsunamis, be they asylum seekers, be they tears of grief, tears of joy, and on and on and on. So thanks to that grant, I was kind of able to went off and wrote a lot of songs, and today I'm going to be talking about the 11 that made their way onto the record. Okay, so the first track on the record was called The Prime Minister is Missing. The band were in Semaphore in Adelaide. We played a gig later on that night. We're at the hotel room, and Davey Lane's on his bed coming up these beautifully twisted surf lead lines and chord progressions, and I said, oh look, this is great. I think I've got this idea to call a surf song The Prime Minister is Missing. This would be perfect. So we recorded these things onto his phone and forgot all about it, and when we came time to do the record, Dave Milne, our drummer, was left to his own devices and decided to do his drum track unaccompanied, and started with this drum roll on this extra snare that beautifully shat itself halfway through, so that the drum roll detunes magnificently, and then proceeded to lay down a minute and a half or whatever it is of this classic kind of surf beat. And then we had to assemble it later on, and it's testimony to Davey Lane's brilliance that he was able to kind of cobble together these phone recordings and arrange them on this track. And when Maddie got involved on the keyboard and Arthur on the bass, it just sounded majestic. It's called The Prime Minister is Missing. Track 2 on the record is called The Whale Song. My sculptor friend Nick Fruin and I, we write together sporadically, and we've been working on this song called The Whale Song for about 10 years, I have to admit. Eventually we got it together. All the great lines in this song are Nick's. The lines about I want the harpooner's hands and the navigator's eyes, the you with unhinged hearts, and he all tied it together because it's a story of a Captain Ahab type character assembling a crew of misfits and innocents alike. When it came time to put the music together, it was only when it got to that it was only when that kind of fell into place that I thought that the rest of the song really kind of had the vehicle in which to deliver such a rancid tale. I have to give credit to the guy who recorded this thing, Justin Runch, because if it wasn't for him and him pursuing this song and demanding that it gets worked on and demanding that it goes on the record, then it may not have been on there. So thanks to him, this is called The Whale Song. Track 3 on the record is called Seven Creeks. The cross-dresser Steve Hart, a friend, and I were driving to Beechworth. She was driving, I had the ukulele in the front seat, and I was just watching signs to Seven Creeks roll by, so you naturally, there be 7 creeks, you naturally just start singing these things. We're going through Kelly country, and it just seemed right that at some point these creeks, where they meet, what would they be talking about? One would try and, there'd be some upmanship about, did you hear the one about? Oh yes, but did you hear the one about? And I had seen a painting, a Sidney Nolan painting of the cross-dresser Steve Hart in the gallery in Western Australia, with Steve on a horse in a dress, and it just made sense to me to spend a lot of time kind of creating this farcical tale. With the recording, it just works so beautifully with the rollicking piano and the bass, and Greg Field dropped by to play a great fiddle part on it, and it worked out magnificently as far as I'm concerned. This is Seven Creeks, the cross-dresser Steve Hart. Yeah, and he rode, and he rode, and he rode, and he rode, and he rode. fourth song on Too Much Water in the Boat is a song called Sweet Mildura. I've been working on this again for quite a while. At one point in time it had a lot of key changes in it. Arthur from the band heard it and said, just lose the key changes, they're not helping. Eventually it kind of found this settled space, this stately grace, let's say. When the piano was added and Maddie's keyboard, it was just such a perfect backdrop for what was being said, a river running out of steam. And when Dougie Lee came along from the Ice Cream Hands to help with the backing vocals and we constructed this man choir, I thought it just worked beautifully, bringing that song to its rightful end.
Sweet Mildura of the blue skies, turn your water into wine.
The fifth song on Too Much Water in the Boat is a song called Off the Tip of the Peloponnese. I was watching SBS with the sound down, as I often do, with guitar in hand, and I just started singing the subtitles that appeared, and I just got lucky, I think, and eventually it seemed that it was a great song to have on the record. I didn't have a song set outside of Australia. I didn't have a song about it's much like a small town, the weird things that can take place on a little island. The recording of it, again, Davey Lane and Maddie and the rest of the band were sensational, and it's a beautiful, great rockin' number. Off the tip of the Peloponnese.
She said, don't you listen to the ghosts and all that gossip that flies up and down the coast.
The sixth song is called The Barrel Song. It's the last song on side one if you've purchased the vinyl. This song started life again on the ukulele, again a line I stole from a book. The train that is barreling towards us is us. It's from a book called Perfecting Sound Forever. And so I had to think about what other things can you involve with the barrel, a shotgun barrel and a barrel that rolls over the falls. So that all made sense, and then I just attached all these images to a family being raised on a mighty bend in the river. That's the Barrel Song.
And turn our backs on everything. The barrel that's pointing towards us is us.
The next song is called Christmas Islands. It's an instrumental. I'd been trying to write songs about asylum seekers, people drowning at sea on their way to this country for a long time, and I was getting nowhere. Every song sounded as though I was trying to write a song about it. It just wasn't working at all. This instrumental came along, and the ferocity of it, and it had an air of devastation about it, which seemed to say a whole lot more than I could possibly say about the terrible way in which we treat people trying to get to this country, and the way in which, tragically, that they end up. This is Christmas Island. The next song is called Across the Inland Sea. I've been reading a lot of books about oceans, about inland exploration, about river systems. This song is kind of based on a particular book called The Unknown Sea by George Farwell, which was about Charles Sturt and his expedition in the footsteps of Hamilton Hume. And so musically we needed to kind of recreate this atmosphere where the expedition is falling sadly, and I think the band does it so beautifully in this atmospheric middle eight and throughout the rest of the song. This is the Inland Sea.
Strike across the inland sea today. Strike across the inland sea.
The Girl from the Flatlands started life as a lyric by my good friend and great songwriter Joe Mears. I stole the lyric from him, which is a pretty rude thing to do, but I just loved it so much and wanted to kind of put it to my own musical setting. So, I mean, you listen to the song and understand what it's about, but it's about a tsunami hitting, and so I had to kind of come up with musical parts that matched the devastation of that, yet also kind of offered some hope towards the end of the song. So that was the challenge for me, to pretty much match the brilliant lyric that Joe Mears provided. This is called "The Girl from the Flatlands."
Yeah, the girl from the flatlands was happy, make no mistake. And it was...
Second last song on the record is called "Ain't Enough Love on the Snowy Mountains." I've been trying to write a song about the Snowy Mountains, the Snowy Mountain scheme, unsuccessfully, and I had a few stabs at it. Coincided with me bumping into Susanna Espy, great Melbourne singer-songwriter, who told me she was appearing that night on the Margaret Footy Show. I had a dream that night, and there's Susanna Espy on stage with her band, a great rockin' band, all looking spectacular, and they're pumping out this song, this brass section, and the band, they're singing this country soul thing, and she's singing "Ain't Enough Love on the Snowy Mountains." I thought, wow, what a fantastic song, and then I realised, oh, hang on, this is my dream, this is my song. Wow, this is good. Don't wake up, because you don't know how the verse goes. Just stay with this dream a little bit longer. So I held in there whilst this incredible TV performance took place, and eventually, the verse came around, I remembered it, and then the chorus came back, and "Ain't enough love on the snowy mountain," then off she goes, and rambled into my phone as much as I could recall, and then called Susanna up later on that day and said, "Oh look, I had a dream about you, and you were singing this song, and I think you need to come around and help me finish the song." And so she did, and then we got her in to sing, we got Jack Howard in to play the brass sections, and it's become this majestic, just a beautiful song, "Ain't Enough Love on the Snowy Mountains."
Ain't enough love on the snowy mountains. Ain't enough love on the snowy mountains.
Last song on the record is the title track, "Too Much Water in the Boat." It seemed appropriate to have some kind of coda for the album. An album that I've been, I was endeavouring to write about as many aspects of water as I could, from drought to flood, to tears of grief, to tears of joy, to a woman's waters breaking, to inland irrigation systems, whatever, asylum seekers, tsunamis. And so I was pretty happy to get that. We drink to the end of the drought, drink to the end of the flood, drink to wash down the salt from the tears and the blood. It kind of, to me, seemed as though the perfect way to end the record, and the band played it, I just thought, superbly. It's "Too Much Water in the Boat."
We drink to the end of the drought. We drink to the end of the flood.
That's it, folks. Hope you've enjoyed me rabbiting on about this record. I'm very pleased and proud and punched of "Too Much Water in the Boat." I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by beautiful friends and very talented musicians that are collectively known as the Zhivagos. It's recorded beautifully, and I hope you enjoy it. Thanks a lot.
There be 7 creeks.